Okay, so after automation discussion from the previous discussion on Tuesday, so we are going to discourse today on infrastructure automations. So automation is possible, we know that, but we need absolutely infrastructure in relation to that automations based on our new definition of automations with the big data, the robot and artificial intelligence, whatever those are. Okay, so the topic of today's class is infrastructure of automation in digital era. We know that digital, what that is, to make a value, the value out of other value instead of production of a certain service and product in a conveyor belt and other many different the factories. So instead, we are making value out of other values, right? So we already defined this one in the name of linguistic capitalisms. So we are almost doing revolution types of the change in our lifestyle. Then we would like to discuss all these in pragmatic way. So the keywords of today's class is infrastructure, which is base of our system, and the secondary automation we already discussed on Tuesday class. So finally, we have the keywords of this one, pragmatisms. So some of you already mentioned in your email to ask me what automation is with the robot and digital society. So I would like to say to you, these the practical application, practicalisms. So with the new, not new, so old the terminology of pragmatisms. In Korean, this is pragmatisms. So for 실용주의 pragmatisms. So we would like to discuss this one. Okay, the keywords. Please keep in mind these are the keywords during this class. So first, the infrastructure. We know infrastructure, which may include the airport and port, and highway, the buildings, IT, infrastructure as well, communication systems, and many different things. So we have the campus as infrastructure for our educations with the University of UNIST. So we have a campus, which is the typical example of a university infrastructure. Within infrastructure, we can do many different things, including systematic communications. So we exchange informations on airport, port, highway, the bridge and buildings, the city infrastructure and the sanitation systems, including wastewater treatment, and the campus. So we use information system as well to communicate. Okay, but infrastructure, do you think is absolutely fair to everybody, to every cities? I don't think so. We know that the infrastructure varies depending on a city and the people, individual and country. So even within one country, for example, Korea. So in Seoul, please imagine what kind of infrastructure do they have? How about Ulsan, the city of Ulsan? What kind of infrastructure do we have? Busan and Gwangju and Daejeon, they all the same? Do you think that's fair to have a different infrastructure? Somebody I believe, from government base, from national base, but somebody don't believe those are fair. So Seoul and Busan and Daegu and Gwangju have a subway system, which is infrastructure, right? But if you visit the countryside of Korea, Ulsan, for example, Jinju, Jeonju, so do they have subway as infrastructure? No. So somebody mentions, so there are conditions, there are circumstances, environment under which the specific cities have those subway systems or not. But those are sometimes may be interpreted as the politicals. Okay, so infrastructure by itself can be very much political. Okay, depending on infrastructure, a citizen in those the subsequent cities have a different political opinion, political justice, political preference, depending on their infrastructures. For example, Gadok International Airport to be built in within 10 years. So those are very big and globalized infrastructure. Some of you support, some of you may oppose to that the plan in that scale. So very much political. Whether or not you are not the political persons, you are not interested in political implementations, political parties. So infrastructure itself sometimes must be political. So that's the we would like to attention to that. How do we change those paradigm or frame behind infrastructure where we can implement the systems through exchanging informations to get some reality out of our lives. So if you visit the Ulsan, if you visit Seoul, if you visit other cities, you may be different persons. Okay, during stay as students in UNIST, so you are going to be a certain types of a person. After graduation, you move to Seoul, so you are going to be the different person with different characters, different philosophy, different preference. Who knows that? But those are the changes situations with your identity depends on most probably infrastructure which subsequent cities can supply, right? So that much infrastructure is very important. So end user of that infrastructure is important as well. Also, we believe that. So that's why we study humanities, psychologists, other humanity area like philosophy, like ethics and morality. But we are scientists and engineer and business person to build infrastructure, depending on policy, depending on demand from the public, from the nations. That's why we're interested in this infrastructure. Okay, probably you understand what I mean. So you don't have to agree totally what I'm going to present, but please refer to my opinion. Okay, so infrastructure can change our lives. Infrastructure collapse. So we don't want to, so it is very difficult to have those situations, but sometimes we have. Okay, so infrastructure collapse or change our lives correspondingly, subsequently, and change as well. So we know that. So infrastructure is very political, very much affect our lives. Okay, however, the system in digital society, so this is the demand shift in infrastructure. What do we mean by that? Please imagine the times when I studied a long time back in 1980s when I was the university the students. 1983, 1987, 1985, so before 88 Olympic game. So infrastructure, if infrastructure was built in that time, so end user, so citizens and the people can use those to move their positions and to use to communicate through telephone systems and to study inside the campus. But they have a computer system to calculate everything, but not actually. We didn't live under the conditions provided by digital technologies. Okay, so structure can be could be directly connected to end user, the people and the citizens. There is no something between those, between infrastructure and end user. But right now, in digital society, with automations, with the big data systems, so we have something between the two, infrastructure and end user, which is me, which is you, which is us. There might be intermediate. For example, what? So why we care about these types of intermediate between infrastructure and end user, who is a consumer. So we have energy systems, we have an energy user. So something between two, we have a certain intermediate, the world, intermediate, the subsystems, so-called. Why we care about this one? What could be background of these, the suppositions? So remind yourself of the characteristic automation has, including collapsions of a professional system under government. Okay, please imagine that. Let me take one example corresponding to intermediate between infrastructure and consumer. Right now, so who is a supplier of the energy to you? From factory to the citizen, to the people of the Republic of Korea. Korean electric company, right? Hanjeon. Okay. So can you imagine what kind of intermediate system? So we call, a little bit later, we call this one as coded platform. I will get to that in minutes. So something between Hanjeon, a Korean electric company, Hanjeon, and a consumer like us. Any things we can do to make a reality out of this electric using. Do you understand what I mean? So we have right now, so long time ago, we have 20 years ago, for example, we have the Korean electric company, Hanjeon, and end user. So the companies supply the electricity to the people. People use it in exchange of their payment for electric uses. In exchange of electric uses, they pay a certain money to the company, to the government as well, right? So there is no actual intermediate the word. But right now, so we can imagine certain different things between two. So this is my idea. Even if Hanjeon and Korean Electric supply the company, so only one electricity without any differentiation of the electricity, the resources, including nuclear, thermal, solar, wind, and bio. But in our home, at the classroom, at the company, at the building, in many different places, what if we have a different circuit socket which we can select to use differently, even if we have only one sources from electricity company, and we can pay at different prices. What happened from this the intermediate platform system? So right now, so we have the preference. Somebody prefer to use a different power source from solar, from wind, as opposed to the nuclear and thermal. But somebody still believe they would like to use the different source preferentially from nuclear energy. So we have a conflict right now, big political issues right now. The government and other institutions and supplier, I mean Hanjeon, they are doing continuously the public opinion survey, 여론조사, and then to induce a certain electricity the policy to build different infrastructure of energy supply system, right? But what if we have these types of intermediate platform systems? So then at 9 o'clock and 8 o'clock and news broadcasting news every day, they may report statistics, what kind of energy were used by certain percentage of the citizen. The other energy source were used by certain percentage, for example. And today at 8 o'clock in the afternoon, news from KBS, MBC, and the JTBS, and so they broadcasting. So 30% of the people, they used the thermal energy because this is relatively cheap than others, but the other 35% of people of Republic of Korea, they used the solar energy, even if its price is a little bit higher than the other, because they prefer to use the solar energy because they would like to keep our Earth as as possible. Or other persons, about 30% use electricity preferentially from virtually, right? Nuclear energy, because they believe nuclear is still the safe. So they believe it is the green energy. Based on their knowledge, based on their belief, they would like to be supporter of the nuclear as opposed to others. So then every day we have these statistics to achieve different policies, okay, to make different policies out of this one in real time based on consumption by everybody, every public. Okay, if you ride the bus, so we have only one fee expenses, right? Only one prices. But if they provide the different prices depending on with this the electricity bus with the different energy source from solar, nuclear power, the fossil fuel, the wind, and bio. What if those? So price is not that much different, not necessarily to be different, but a small difference in prices, but make a lot of difference out of us. And the broadcast once again at 8 o'clock in the afternoon, they report which percentage opposed to others. So we have a new energy democracy. Okay, so right now, so only we depends on survey, so public survey with energy, with the next presidential candidate, many different area. Okay, but we still we're still fighting each other, competing each other. But why not to have something between infrastructure and the user, politically, energy-wise, economic-wise, education, of course. Then we can do different types of a coded platform, because we have ITs. We have a very developed IT technology with big data and artificial intelligence. Okay, so we have a new opportunity to build a new democracy with the energy, economic system, education, and many different ways. So that's my opinion. What do you think? Other examples with intermediate platform coded. So how you understand the code? If you select 1 over 1, okay, negative and positive code, and then we can make actuality. We can make certain things to be real. That's the definition of a code. So we have a platform between infrastructure and the user, consumer, and the citizen, the people, the public. Okay, so we may build as engineer and scientist and business person, based on profit business model and non-profit business model as well, platform to achieve something in the between the world, the virtual world, for example, okay, between infrastructure and the people. So think of communication, education, IT, and many others. So please imagine what kind of the platform do you think? Can you think? Can you think? We still have a lot of we already have a lot of different platform coded already, but please imagine that. Okay. So for example, YouTube is a coded platform, right? Between what? IT infrastructure and the consumer. So a long time ago, the YouTube is not possible at all, because we don't have any infrastructure with the higher efficiencies, with the high capacity of storage. But right now it's possible with the help of IT technology, storage, and big data. How about the Bitcoin? This is the economic the systems too, but it is possible right now. It's a long time back in the 1980s where I live as the college students. It is not possible at all. But right now it's possible as intermediate coded platform between infrastructure of IT and the public. And survey, of course, we discussed this one, survey of a public opinion between IT, infrastructure, and user. Okay. So this is participation too. Give me an example. Do you think one you can imagine of the intermediate platform coded? Please give me one example from your imaginations. Okay, thank you, please. Okay, so infrastructure automations in detail are to make value in pragmatic ways. So we are discussing today with keywords of infrastructure, automation, and pragmatics. Right now, pragmatic. Why pragmatics? In pragmatic way. So there are other ways as well, in a metaphysical way, in the practical way, other practical ways, in systematic way, in educational way, in business way. Okay, but why I selected pragmatic. So I'd like to introduce to you this ism, the philosophy suggested from psychology area, long time back to 1907. very long time ago, but it deserved to be concerned from Professor William James. He is, I believe, to my knowledge, in the first psychologist. I believe, I'm not sure, okay? I'm not sure, but okay, so he proposed pragmatism. So in his book, the title Pragmatism, a new name for some old ways of thinking. So if you're interested in this, the pragmatisms, what could be a Korean after translated? Do you think? What corresponds to Korean terminology to this pragmatism? Still pragmatism in Korea, but so we sometimes translate this one into 실용주의. Okay, why the pragmatisms can be translated into Korean words of 실용주의? So typical examples from his suggestion. Typical example is a heredity and DNA and time and watch, and many different examples as well. So we have a time and watch examples. We had the time from even before, when we can imagine. Okay, very long time ago, we have this concept of time, even without clock and watch. So people know the concept of time. The yesterday passed, so tomorrow's come on to tomorrow. The future comes in soon, down the road. Okay, so we have a time concept, and sometime the long time back to certain times. So someone invented watch and clock, and then with the new concept of watch is a new concept at that time. Okay, people surprised. Finally have from having tools of a watch to measure time. So before invention of time, so they used the different ways to feel the time. So they see the suns, the movement on heaven, in the sky. But after Sejong, so the people in the Lee dynasty, under the monarch of the King Sejong, they actually can measure. They could actually measure the time by using the sun watch and water watch, right? So after that, they could complete the concept of time. Okay. In summary, so we may have old concept such as time, and then we invented a new concept of watch, and then we can complete all the time of what the concept of time. And then we have a hilarity concept, Yujeong hilarity concept. In 1975, I believe, from the physicist, from biologist, so they invented new concept of DNA. And then the people at that time, they could complete all the concept of hilarity using new concept invented in the name of DNA. You understand? That's the pragmatisms types of the practicalisms. So we can use these types of the pragmatisms to complete or to solve our problem we face even under digital society. For example, the climate change. So climate change is old concept we've been experiencing now, but someone can can define or invent a new concept of certain things to complete all the concept of climate change, disaster. Okay. So you may propose a new concept of climate change to complete all the concept of climate change to solve those problems correspondingly. So that's the pragmatic times of concept. Why pragmatism right now? Because we are shifting, we are moving from Anthropocene era to the Anthropocene era. So we have a new concept as well. In the name of the Anthropocenes with the negative entropy direction towards the decreasing entropy right now, from automations in machines and the production factories, more importantly with the big data, with artificial intelligence. So once again, it is not a matter of unemployment and job opportunity, but the matter of new value out of this negative entropy. That's why pragmatically we can invent a new concept to complete all the concept, having a lot of different problems such as climate change and unemployment, pandemic, probably. Okay, that's the proposal. Idea of the pragmatisms, like time and clock, and heredity, and DNA. We can make others with the help of IT in digital society. Energy system, we already discussed this one, right? So old concept, what could be old concept? One of old concepts in energy. So we have an electric socket concept. So that's the invention a long time ago. The people, the probably engineer and scientists invented to provide the electricity. But so we can develop and propose a new concept of a choice of energy option. So various socket to be even at home to use a different electricity source. Even if a Korean electricity, the company Hanjeon supply the one electricity, but we can use differently to based on our selection of a different electricity source to pay differently to the company, to the government, to show our preference. That's the new concept, I believe, as in coded platform. So economic system, what do you mean by that? Do we have the old concept of money, but someone invented a new concept of a currency and money in the name of a Bitcoin, to complete economic system, which is pragmatism types of approach to solve the problem we have in old system of economy. How about the education systems? Old concept is great, 학점. Old concept is great. Then we propose new concept to complete our education, You understand? Okay, participation 3, the last one. Give me your example of pragmatism's types of idea or viewers. Please, even if it is not easy, I understand totally. Please try to imagine, even without the object we have. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your active participations. So this is it today. So to design, what what were our the main topic of today's class? After the following automation systems, we are going to understand what infrastructure is. What infrastructure, we know that. But between infrastructure and users and consumers, we envisioned a certain word titled as the coded platform, right? Coded platform like YouTube, Bitcoin, Market Curly, Amazon, and B&B. Okay, so many different things, but everything is already exists as suggested by other persons. So I ask you to design, to propose your own coded coded the platform with the help of IT and information technology. So in pragmatism way, so we already discussed and defined the pragmatisms from the book published by William James, Professor William James. So so if you have other ways, it's fine as well. But I suggest to use a pragmatism types of that by suggesting new concept to complete old concept. Okay, so please look at other example like B&B and YouTube and other things. So they suggest a slightly different new concept to complete all the concepts. So that's the pragmatism types that published and suggested from US. So what kind of things? So I suggest with that suggestion of a coded platform, I suggest to invent a new sign. Okay, newly defined new sign. So I'd like to get to that next week with a different topic, different examples, especially with the sanitation systems. I'm environmental engineer, right? So what if we have a new horizon to try to have a new infrastructure as a coded platform? I'd like to get to sanitation system, okay, with a different concept of a sign. That's the we would like to discuss next Tuesday with a new topic. Okay, thank you for your attention. Very good and participation as well. And I'll see you at the next Tuesday. Thank you. 감사합니다.